Thanks for listening to the Thyroid Fixer podcast with your host, me, Dr. Amy Horniman, aka the Thyroid Fixer, functional medicine practitioner, hormone and weight loss expert. We're talking all things thyroid, hormone, and health related in order to empower, educate, and transform you. So if you're ready to get your life back, let's get started. Okay, so I know I always say that this is going to be the best podcast ever, but no, really this time, it's going to be the best podcast ever. Because I have, as a guest, one of my health coaches, part of my team, Susan Robbins, and we just jived from the moment we met. I did a DNA test with a company I won't mention, and then I did I can say the True Diagnostics test because Susan does some, typecasting, going through True Diagnostic results and explaining it to people. And that's what she did to me. And she helped me to understand my biological age and my chronological age. And then we just gelled from there because we are like two peas in a pod. So this is going to be a game changer for you. And you can probably hear the excitement in my voice. The latest introduction, the latest member of the family to the Fixer line is Metabolism Fixer. And this, oh my God, I formulated this just for all my people out there that need to lose weight, that need help in the weight loss department, that can't lose weight no matter what they do, that feel like they have a slow metabolism, and that might be thinking of trying all those peptides out there, the Beverly Hills soccer mom drug of choice for weight loss peptides. Or even if you're on them already and you're like, man, these are really expensive and I'm still not losing weight, add in Metabolism Fixer. Here's what I did. I took the power of T2, which increases your basal metabolic rate while you are sitting there watching Netflix. You're burning fat while you're watching Netflix. I combined it with a very unique patented ingredient called Suppressa. Suppressa has multiple clinical trials backing its efficacy in reducing your appetite, decreasing snacking, and providing way more control over your food intake. It is amazing. We also see improved emotional well-being, just decreased food cravings all around, reduced hunger, and weight management. Add on top of that, we have green tea extract. We have purple forest purple tea extract, both of which affect the metabolism in a very positive way without the jitters of normal fat burning supplements out there from the 1980s and 90s, right? The ones that made you feel like you're having a heart attack. You will not have that in any of my supplements, Thyroid Fixer or Metabolism Fixer. But Metabolism Fixer, we kicked it up a notch. It is in powder form, so you can drink it through your day. It's going to flavor your water. We got orange crush and refreshing citrus. I love them both. It is going to keep you under control all day long. So you throw a couple scoops in your water bottle in the morning, throw a scoop or two in your water bottle throughout the day. You will have fat burning and appetite control the entire day for what? An eighth of a price of the peptides? Oh my God, you can't go wrong. So grab some Metabolism Fixer today. Please let me know how you do on it. I am super excited for you. Super excited. If you're a patient listening, maybe you are working with Susan as part of my team. Maybe you're in the wings waiting to become a patient and you're going to hear this. You're going to be like, oh my God, I need to work with this woman. But we're going to have a really good conversation today because, Susan and I talk behind the scenes all the time about everybody. We're talking about all of you and all your excuses and who's getting results and who's making excuses and who's doing what they're supposed to be doing and who's doing what they're supposed to be doing for their body. As Susan gets really precise with who you are, your environment, your body, what you should be doing in your life, lifestyle, food, sleeping, laying down, stress relieving, working out, when you're working out, all of it. And that all ties into how you're going to progress. So just like I always say, you guys know, I emphasize optimizing thyroid and hormones. Yes, 100%, but you can't do that alone. You have to do everything together. The lifestyle component, the nutrition component, everything has to tie together to make this beautiful symphony to give you results. If you just throw on thyroid hormone medication, listen, I can do that all day long. And you're not going to see results if you're over here effing off, staying up till 2 a.m. and eating pot stickers, because that seems to be the theme of the week. Everybody's eating these freaking pot stickers. At the same time, just like I always say, you could be doing all the things and your thyroid and hormones are all effed and no doctor is helping you whatsoever. That's not going to work either. So it all has to come together. And Susan and I are going to deep dive in this episode. We're calling some of you out and we're calling out your excuses, but we're going to deep dive into really precision nutrition, precision lifestyle, tying it all together. So enough of me talking. Susan, welcome. This is going to be awesome.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I love working with you.
Yeah. We talked off camera as to where to start. I want you to tell people kind of what you do. You work with like a really unique platform. You've done this to me. You did the whole onboarding. You kind of prototype, stereotype me. I know I'm not saying the right thing, but just start there with what you do with people.
Sure. So I'm an epigenetic human performance coach. And this is what I tell your patients when they start working with me, that I will be looking at them completely differently from other health coaches from a very individualized point. So I work with DNA. I am certified to do DNA. I'm a level 2 Epiron Zoe coach. So that's DNA testing. And that's where you get the little cheek swab, send the kit in, and that's your actual DNA. And then what's pretty unique over here in the States is my coaching platform, which is through Precision Health Alliance and the Shea app. And for some people that may be familiar with it, it's based in Australia. It was formerly called PH360. So I am an endorsed PH360 coach, and I found this in 2020, used it on myself and said, this is the last piece of my optimization puzzle, and I need to bring this to my clients. So I've been doing the genetic portion of coaching. I'm also an integrative nutrition health coach, but I've been doing the genetic portion of it since 2019, bringing it to people. So the DNA is the DNA. Where the Precision Health comes in and the Shea app is looking at your phenotype. So you have your DNA creates your genotype. That's what we get our DNA from mom and dad. But DNA, it might be expressing, it might not be expressing. We have control over about 95% of how our DNA expresses. And people think that the DNA controls us, but that is not the case. My coaching platform, the Shea app, that actually is looking at your phenotype, how everything is currently expressing, and what are the things that your specific, very unique body needs to bring itself into balance. And that's what I do. So I'm one of the only people in the United States that's combining these two together to help my clients reach optimal health.
That's so cool. And let's back up to the genetics, because so many people, as you know, when you met me, have done other DNA testing, the 23andMe, the DNA company, the blah, 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 whatever. And yeah, number one, sometimes that's not really a complete test. So I want to know how your DNA testing, Epiron's different. And then also kind of expand a little bit more, because people freak out when they see their DNA. You got to be careful who you test, because they're going to look at that and go, oh my God, I have the BRCA gene. I'm getting breast cancer. That's it. I'm going to go be Angelina Jolie and going to cut off, So
yeah,
talk to me about those 2 points.
Sure. So they absolutely do freak out. One of the differences with Epiron and why I love using Epiron is it's not direct to consumer. Because information is just information unless you know how to interpret it and implement it, right? So that's what I do as a coach. So the one thing is it's not direct to consumer. You have to actually have a coach. Even if you had bought the kit, you still have to have a coach go over it with you before it's released to you. What I love about Epiron, and I don't diss anybody else's kits. I've gone over your patients, my other clients, other kits. I can pull information out of there, absolutely, that can be valuable. But what I love about the Epiron array, it's so vast. When you have 23andMe is going to be it's ancestral based. You can run that raw data through different third-party sites to get some of the data out that we can use, but a lot of it just is not as comprehensive. And that's what I like about Apeiron's, is it's so comprehensive. I'm just going to give a quick example here. There's a rare condition, genetic condition, that has to do with cholesterol. A lot of the time will manifest as high cholesterol that's not helped by anything. And it's supposed to be only about 8% of the population. And lo and behold, this week alone, I've done 5 DNA reports, and 4 of these people came up with high risk here. And high risk is a pretty high risk in this one. So we do blood work. I look at labs or recommend labs to back things up. But, just things like that. And I have not seen that tested in other kids. And that can be pretty impactful. So what I love about Apeiron, again, is just things that are able to be worked with. Because what's information if you can't do anything with it? That's the whole point. So that's why I'm an Apeiron coach. That's why I love using the panel. And if you have DNA testing done and you're looking at it and you flip out thinking, oh my God, I'm an ApoE4, I'm going to have Alzheimer's, I'm going to have this. You have so much control over whether those genes will express or not. And it comes down to lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, lifestyle wise, like Amy said, how I met her was through two diagnostics. On the side, I do some interpretations for them for their biological age testing. And even people that are on every damn supplement that David Sinclair recommends. Yep. And I'm not just David Sinclair, please, because I do it. David, you're cool. But are on all the supplements. I think they're doing all the right foods. I'm still seeing, people with higher biological ages because their timing could be off. Timing affects your hormones, affects longevity. So it all comes down to lifestyle. If there's something off in your lifestyle, like you said, you can take the meds, but when you're keyed into lifestyle, it's so much easier when you're optimal in your lifestyle to figure out what you need, whether it's supplements, medication, knowing what's right and what's wrong for you.
Yeah. And, for us hypothyroid peeps, I was always curious as to whether or not I had the DIO1, DIO2 genetic SNP, because as my listeners know, I'm T3 only. I don't convert. How I figured that out was not from an elevated reverse T3. It was through trial and error. And every time I put in T4, I get worse. I go hypo. So in reading about these SNPs, I thought, well, yeah, for sure, I have one, right? And after getting my DNA done from a very large company here, you're like, it's not even on there. So there's a lot missing.
Yeah, we do test for the D101. And I think this is really important to say to your people, because, I have people think that I'm perfect with what I do. No, I am hypothyroid. I have chronic Lyme. I just don't, and I'm autoimmune. I'm celiac. I don't focus on these things, because when we focus on everything wrong, we find more wrong and we create more issues. I focus on optimal, but I was so frustrated. So this was a year ago spring, and my PCP was not working with me. I was so stinking fatigued. And I was on T3 and T4, right? I think it was on Armor. And I was just miserable. And I was out taking a walk because I was too tired to go to CrossFit. And I found your podcast. And I listened to where you talked about you with the T3 only. Mm-hmm. And I thought, and you talked about the D101. I hadn't even paid attention to that in my own damn DNA. I ran home. I finally got energy enough to run home, pulled up my DNA and found that the D101, which converts our T4, right, our inactive to the active T3, I have both variants, which means likely crappy conversion. Mm-hmm. And my reverse T3 was high.
Yep.
So I went to my PCP, who said to me, I'm not giving you T3. And I said, but look at my genes. I don't convert. It's manifesting here. It's expressing. I don't convert. And she refused. And it took an act of Congress. And I just listened to what you said. So when I met you, like I told you, basically, you saved me. And so I am also T3 only because of my DNA shows that I just don't convert.
Yeah, I want to
It
bring
can
that up because I knew that'd be interesting to the hypo peeps out there listening.
Yeah, and DNA, just to be clear here, DNA is pure probabilities and propensities, okay? So it doesn't mean that because we have an increased propensity for something that it has to happen or will happen, and conversely the same, just because we have a low propensity, our lifestyle can change that and make something express that we don't want. And the DNA is not meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any illness. It's to give us information so that we can understand our bodies, how we're created, and how to work with that, how to implement the right things in our lifestyle to get the good things to express and dial down the things that we don't want expressing.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so let's move into lifestyle and what you see with our patients, what you see working with all your individuals that come to you. How bad is it? Let's take a scenario. You have somebody that comes in and they think they're doing pretty darn well, right? This is the person that's like, well, no, I eat clean.
I eat clean.
That's the biggest thing.
I get all excited. I'm like, oh, just wait.
Yeah, let's pick this apart, shall we? So it's not your donut eating, sheets going, McDonald munching kind of person. It's the person that really makes an effort. They're trying, or in their head, they're really trying. And then you get them and what?
Yeah. So they come to me and when they become a client of mine and I onboard them onto my platform, right? The Shea app, Precision Health. Again, it's Precision Health. We start looking at how they're formed in the womb, predominant germ layers that developed, and the predominant hormones that drive them. We look at chronobiology, the timing of everything that nobody talks about. You hear everybody being told to work out first thing in the morning. That's ideal for everybody. Yeah, it's not. For some people, it's actually detrimental. When it comes to the food, what's the saying? One person's food is another person's poison. Absolutely. So I say it's about genetics and not generics. I mean, I coached for 5 years paleo. Everybody was paleo because, hey, it's whole food, right? You're not eating the shit.
It is. It's clean. It's clean.
So it gets rid of all the crap, all the inflammatory stuff. Well, when I got on this profile or became an endorsed coach with PH, I was blown away that there are actually people that handle dairy really well. There are people that handle grains. Who'd have thought? I was like, oh my God, I'm going to eat crow here. But it really showed me how we are also individual with our unique needs and what drives us to be optimal and what drives us, period. You have some people that are just so goal driven, the blinders go on and it's just, they get their goal in their mind and they go, 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 go. If I start on food with them, it doesn't matter if we're not calming their central nervous system and they're shutting their brain off because they're constantly going so much. And they're going to have a need for higher carbohydrates, not a high carb diet, but increased good complex carbohydrates for this heavy brain activity. Again, these were all things that shocked me when I found this platform, but using this with people and dialing them in on the right timing. Are they eating at the right time? I see so many people eating at bedtime, eating dinner and then having a big snack again. Intermittent fasting when intermittent fasting is not ideal for them because it isn't ideal for everybody. Sorry. It about wrecked me for a year. I argued with my coach, PH, that no, I can eat twice a day and be fine. I lost 11 pounds, not eating twice a day anymore. So that's even just my own story. But with clients, like some are so afraid to eat a carbohydrate. And I had one man, thyroid issues, big blood sugar issues and cardiovascular issues, who was 62, and got him onboarded. We did his DNA, but we got him onboarded onto my platform. And he was afraid to eat fruit. And, so he would have a smoothie in the morning on the very specific foods. So this platform gives you the list of foods that you should be eating and the reasons why, all based on nutrient density. It's not a food group of high of carbohydrates, fats, proteins. It's all based on nutrient density of what your body needs to bring it into balance. And for the first time, by the time he was finished with me in 6 months, getting his timing right. Again, his timing was off. He didn't even cook. That's another thing. Everybody's eating out all the time because it's, quote, convenient. Really getting them, eating at home for the most part and planning. Then you're going to have success. And we did that with him. And for the first time in over a decade, his blood sugar came down from over the hundreds to 82.
Wow.
And he had his heart workup done, and his cardiologist said, wow, he was amazed at the difference. So his cardiologist was just thrilled. His blood sugar is the lowest it had been in 10 years or more, and he felt amazing. It was just like a whole new lease on life for him. And then one of your patients I worked with, she came on and did the additional program with me as well. And she could not lose weight to save her life for, I think, wasn't it years? Several years she'd been trying.
Yeah, definitely.
And she was keto. And when we did her DNA, she was an ApoE4. That's a high risk for plaque buildup, cardiovascular, but especially the plaque buildup in the brain. And high saturated fat is basically the enemy with ApoE4. And she was eating fat bombs and just tons of saturated fat, worried about eating carbs because it would run her blood sugar up. Her blood sugar was elevated. And when she saw her pH profile, her SHE, it was recommending more carbohydrates, especially in the form of veggies. She was pretty apprehensive, but it was great about just kind of rolling with it, understanding that these are very specific recommendations for her body and where it is. And by the end of the several months working together with her, she lost quite a bit of weight. She was down into her genes that she hadn't been able to get into, felt amazing. Her blood sugar had evened out. Like the things that she was afraid of that would jack her sugar up weren't. And it was just hugely impactful between that and getting her meds straight, dialing in that lifestyle and the timing of the foods made an incredible difference there. So again, there's two individuals, very different people that had very different needs, and were able to bring their bodies more into balance.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so on that, let's do the guy first. So you have a male, and I would look at his labs and say, this guy probably does have to pull back on the carbohydrates if he's diabetic, borderline diabetic, high blood sugar, insulin resistant. So I would agree that probably not keto, but we would reel back the carbs. Now, how does that different from what Shay told him to do? Do you think it was his carbohydrate intake higher than like what a normal, let's say, nutritionist would look at and say, man, this one's diabetic, we should probably take it down to like 30 or 50 here?
And I think it's the type of carbohydrates. So when we do to do the onboarding with me, it takes quite a bit. So it's close to it's over an hour, anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. And there's an extensive health questionnaire that goes into it. And it will specifically ask, have you ever been diagnosed? Have you been diagnosed with pre-diabetes or diabetes? That will be in there. So when we check yes, that goes into this algorithm, because this is all AI based, right? 15 layers of science in here goes into this algorithm. And so very specific, the foods that it will recommend, they'll be low glycemic, not necessarily low carb, but low glycemic, meaning they're not going to amp that blood sugar right up, right? Amp that glucose up. And it's also going to be, what are the benefits? What are the nutrient benefits that this is also bringing in? And that's where I think the difference is, as opposed to just let's cut all carbs, because you could have someone doing under 50 grams of carbs and they're going to do it with a sweet potato. Well, then you're leaving a whole bunch out there left to go. Yeah. And I can tell you that I've never had anybody, unless they insisted on it, working with me to count a macro. Again, that comes down to preference. I have had a couple of people that they need to see that. They have to have that in front of them, and that's perfectly fine. The beauty of this profile is it also has 25,000 recipes input in there. And the ones that come up for you are only the ones that work for you. And they are also ranked in order of nutrient density. So I think the type of the carbohydrates, just the same as proteins and fats. So you'll see some may have be okay with some saturated fats, where other health types aren't going to be doing as well with some saturated fats. right? And it also, let me explain this too. Also within the profile, we're in there checking, are you looking to lose fat, gain muscle, lose fat and gain muscle, which I typically don't recommend to anybody because I would rather concentrate on one thing or the other and then change it when you hit that goal, or maintain. So it's always a way to get to the end and find out what are the things that I need to pay attention to in my life, because it's not just the food that are going to help me with this. So it's really just the types of foods and not necessarily the amount of the carbohydrate, but is this something that's going to drive the blood sugar up, or is this something that's not going to affect it as much?
Okay. So I'm going to use another one that we were talking about the other day.
Okay.
The fruitaholic. And she knows that we love her if she's listening. So was doing, a program that worked for her 5 years ago. And this particular program also did not count macros, but gave really odd ratios is all I can say. Like you can eat all this fruit, which I'm sorry, folks, fruit is a sugar. Yes, Susan's male client was able to add some fruit, but it didn't mean like cups and cups and fruit all day long. Let's clarify that. So yeah, just really abnormal combinations, large amounts of fruit, fat on top of that. So when she actually did track and we looked at it, it was like almost 200 grams of carbs and almost 150, 170 grams of fat. It was just the ratios were crazy. I mean, thankfully she wasn't gaining weight, so we brought her in. She did thyroid and hormones first. Let's baby step it. Okay, continue eating the way you're eating for now. Although I don't think it was that heavy in the fruit in the beginning, but then, we let her ease into it. And then she felt like, she wanted to take it up a notch and work with you in the pH. So we got her into that program kind of, at the same time as she's going through her transformational journey with me. And then that is just taking it to a whole nother level with her getting really precise. So I think she is doing the pH, right? If not, I think we're going to mandate it.
She has not come aboard yet. Another one did this week. Came on the pH train and this one I think is going to resonate with most of the audience out there.
Okay.
Because 40% of people are going to be non-responders to any type of plan. Okay.
Like nutrition plan, you mean? Like,
yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Or exercise, right? HIIT training, ideal for everybody.
Right.
Just as like a paleo isn't ideal for everybody, right? So, and as we got to talking, she said, I've been the girl that has been the overweight one. I'm out there. I'm, even when I played sports, I played soccer and I tried everything. Everybody's working out, everybody's losing weight. And here I am. And the more I work out, the more I'm gaining. And so I'm listening to this. And then she said, this isn't, oh, how did she put it? I should have written it down. I did write it down and then I probably got rid of it. She said something, this isn't right for my type, my body type. This isn't for my body type. And I said, okay, I'm going to stop you there because guess what? It is. I hadn't even onboarded her yet, but I can tell exactly how she was formed in the womb just by, face shape, height and weight, like getting a good idea and listening to her. And what she was telling me and how she's built. And that body type tends to store. And they're going to carry more muscle and they're going to carry more body fat. And I told her, you're going to be more resilient. That's the one thing about this type of body. It's a very resilient body, but it's also prone to the weight gain because you store everything. And being told, especially when you're an athlete, to eat more and more and more and more and more, it's too much. It's just too much for this type. And so that's when she thought about all this, because I said, this is exactly what your type is, like how your body works with this. And when we understand, again, how our bodies work, what drives us, this is just such a game changer to be able to live authentically, understanding how you are. And so many of us are just living day to day how we think we're supposed to be. And not knowing the beauty of our creation. Like I said, some of the bigger people, they're your most generous, loving people because they run on prolactin, your nurturing hormone. And they're your big teddy bears. The guys are the big teddy bears. The moms, the women are like the mama bears. And they're wonderful people. They're going to be more prone to thyroid. These are a lot of the people that you see. They're more prone to thyroid, insulin issues, right? Glucose issues, just because of their, how their fat is stored, how their bodies are. And just talking to her about this and letting her understand that I know she's different. She's not grouped into some group of people needing all the same thing. And I think that really spoke to her that this is your body type and that's okay. We can work with that because we know. And that's where I just think so much of the gold lies here.
That's awesome. Now, I didn't plan on going down this pathway, so you might kill me, but we're going to go down it anyways. I want to get into the different types that there are because I find it fascinating, and well, a couple different reasons. Number one, not every patient gets the pH. That's a whole nother level of a program. So I don't want people listening going, well, shit, I want to know what type I am. There are certain traits. I call Susan the genetic genie when I'm talking about her because she can't, this is what she did to me. She meets me, she talks to me, she gets to know me. Obviously you can see kind of my height and shape and all that, and you can hear how I am. She goes, you're an activator. I'm like, a what-avator? So you're an activator and you learn this way. And this is, the good parts of your day. And this is when you get stressed. And just all this shit about me that was spot on. That was spot freaking on. Now I did the pH and I am confirmed an activator. So she was correct. But sometimes there's going to be even people out here, not our patients, but people out here going, oh my God, I really want to do this, but can't afford it or whatever. We got to give them some nuggets on what they can do. So let's go through just even nuggets to chew on. Let's go through the different types because I think that they're fascinating. And I think it's fascinating when you kind of explain it, people go, that's me. And then maybe let's go back through the types and say, God, give the activator something they can do to improve their quality of life if someone out there resonates with activator. So let's go.
So this is all, again, based on how you're formed in the womb, predominant hormones that drive you. And this is why when I do an onboarding, we do measurements. So we measure things like your skull, your jaw, your hands, your feet. We look at femur length. And this tells us, again, predominant derm layers that developed. This is what helps us understand what drives you. And then again, the other layers of science come in here to create this health type. The health types are based on, if people are familiar with endomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph, right? We just give them different names in pH, and we call them health types. So as Amy referred to as activator, and as most people hear, Amy and I talk very similarly. We are very direct. We very filter, right? And we were exposed to a lot of testosterone in the womb. So we're going to have shorter femurs, longer torsos, but our predominant hormones are noradrenaline and testosterone, which makes us more direct. We're more action oriented. That's what we are made for. Our number one priority is actually activity, movement. If we don't move, forget it. We have, right? So second priority is food because you have to fuel that movement. And that's the activator. So the true mesomorph, we're going to be your shorter people, typically shorter and a little more muscular. Okay. So you're a true athlete. And then when I talk about a lot of what I see with Amy is a lot of the true endomorphs. These again are your bigger people. Think of the rounder face, and everybody knows these people and again loves them because they take care of everyone. They are your uber nurturers, and that's your true endomorph. They're going to carry more muscle and more body fat. It doesn't mean they can't lean out, but they're just going to be bigger. Their bone structure is bigger. Yours and mine, we're tiny, little hands, little feet, right? Smaller bone structure. They're going to have a thicker bone structure. Again, driven by prolactin, that's that nurturing hormone. And they're just wonderful people. We term them the guardians.
Guardians.
And then you have your very, your very lean people that are the hard gainers, right? That when we hear them come to us, how do I put on muscle? I burn through everything. Again, if you understand people, because Amy and I are just very, again, action, 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 not so much system and process and cerebral.
Right.
And so we're like, just get on with it. Just get on with it, right? This is how
those systems and processes. Who needs those? Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Just do it. Tell me what I need to know to put something in action. That's why I'm like, Amy, don't go into too much detail with me, because that's not me, right? There's things I can be detailed on, but for nobody that knows me out there, I'm a retired police officer. Being that meso body and meso mind of action and quick decisions, right? Think on the fly really well. That was really good for that. So, but other people, very, very cerebral, very system and process oriented. And when you're talking to them, they don't want any bullshit. They're just like, I just want to know what I need to do. What's the system I need to do this? I want everything to be clear and precise. And they're not all fluff. So communicating with them, I understood that. Amy was like, why is this person like this? And I'm like, why? Very cerebral, just needs to know system and process. And she and I were able to click and work together great. She came on to the PH with me, work together great because I understand how to communicate with her, what her body needs, why she needs it, and how she thinks and how she communicates. So, as soon as we meet, she's like, what are we talking about?
Yep.
No, it's like, what are we covering today? Right? Where I have what we call the connector in me, which is a part mesomorph, endomorph. And that's like the puppy dog, everybody's friend. We connect everybody, social connection, oxytocin, really important. I have a lot of that in me, so I can talk forever. And I love people and I love connection. That down on the other end of the scale, not so much, just a lot more autonomous. And again, just no fluff, just give me the facts. And again, all these bodies are going to require different ways to communicate. They're going to learn in different ways from us. Some of them need to see things visually, try things. Some of them just want to read it, hear it. And then you have the two predominant I see with your patients and my people, especially females, we term is the diplomat. And that is a combination of the ectomorph, the hard gainer, and this is very cerebral, and the endomorph, your bigger, you think Viking people, right? And that was one of the patients we had, that's first woman I talked about.
Yeah.
I call her Xena, my warrior princess, because she just fit the mold perfectly. Taller, longer hands, bigger feet, again, very tall. And so their predominant hormone is serotonin. That's a comfort hormone. They do not make decisions quickly. They want all the information you can give, as much as you can give it, before they make decisions. Working with someone like us, who's very like, we're here now. What do you want to do? Like, are you going to do this? Do it now. That urgency, if you place urgency on them, it creates stress. And so when I start talking to someone that comes on the program with me, or I can absolutely in my mind think that, oh my gosh, this is who this is. I'm not starting with them on food right away. I want to know what's their surroundings, because time and space are so important to them. If there is chaos in their space, whether it's at work, at home, a new client I had, personal client this morning, she said she had to quit a job because it was all these deadlines, all this urgency. And I'm like, surprise. She said it creates so much stress. So you can feed these people all the food you want, but if you don't get these things in check with them, it's not going to matter as much. We want to make sure that we're creating that calm, that peace, their beautiful space around them, and working with their time frame for the most part to elicit that comfort. You'd be amazed at when you start feeding them the right foods, then at the change you'll see. But starting with that and then bringing for them, and again, these are the biggest non-responders, bringing them in with the right foods at the right time. They're again told, keto, protein, high fat, all of this, and go really low carb. And these are the ones I seem to see most often will tend to do a little bit better. They like their oatmeal in the morning. And some of them, no, but some of them, yes. And again, that's me eating crow. So the whole point with all of this is you're going to see some similar characteristics, absolutely. And when people say, well, what about the personality tests? Well, the personality tests are driven by this biology, right? So this is how we're created. But then the environment comes in and also shapes some of that. So some people haven't even been living authentically according to how they're created, but it does play a big part. So I think when you look at these different health types, you will see similar characteristics, like you and I, right? We're different numbers. We think differently. You definitely are more future focused and detail oriented, where I'm more in the moment and reaction. And so even, people in the same health type will have some general same characteristics, but no two people will have the same profile, like no two people have the same DNA, because everything is according to who you are and where you are, even though you're that same health type.
This can go way beyond your health. It can actually go into your inner relations, like with your friends, with your family, with your spouse, with your coworkers, with your team. Yeah.
Well, you think about it, when you and I communicate, it's typically, unless we really have something to say, where we vent, because we have to, with who we are, activators have to vent. Right. But typically we get the facts across, we're done.
Yeah.
And that's how we communicate. And if you get me at a busy time, I'm 1 or 2 word text. Yeah, no. And I have a friend here who became a PH coach after working with me. And she said, I don't get insulted anymore. I used to think you were bad 2-word text. And now I'm like, oh, she's just busy, because I always have things to do. Right. And then I tend to get more wordy when I'm done work. When my brains turn off, then I get wordier. And so she's like, I had to learn how to not take that personally, because I always thought you were pissed off at me. Because you were like, yes, no. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Nothing. Now she sees this is how I am. And I understand that she's a connector,
right?
Actually, I swear she's got a connector brain. I would swear that. But she was a diplomat that her body actually is a sensor. And, but with a very action, like activator connectory brain. So she was taking it personally. And so her understanding that, again, it's just, your whole relationships change when you understand how you are and what your strengths are, because even with our strength of being, action oriented and getting results for people, because that's what drives us. We want to get results for people. Understanding that in relationships might not be the best to go off on someone and be a pit viper, unless they understand that, okay, you're a pit viper and I'm not going to take it personally. But to sit and think, I tell everybody, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Sit and think on it. Like, I don't have to react this way. I can sit and think on it. Shocks people, but that's part that I knew that was something that was a part of me that I needed to dial back a bit, because it wasn't healthy in relationships. So when I work with couples, because I love working with couples. I don't care how long they've been together. I worked with a couple together for 40 years in their 60s. Their whole relationship changed. They were like scowling at each other in the beginning. And then it was like intimacy came back, because they understood. Yeah. He was a guardian who needed love and affection. And she was a very sensory diplomat, very autonomous, isn't just the touchy-feely type. So to her, he was needy. To him, she was like not interested. And so them giving each other the time they needed, her time, her own time, and then allowing him to be, affectionate and caring, and not pushing him away when he wanted to just, give her a hug and stuff, or just to cuddle on the couch. Game changer. So all of it, like you said, it goes deeper. I also do corporate. This is a whole corporate wellness. And so we see how with our team, how it can make a difference. There's just so many ways that you can use this, how any way we can understand how we are created, how others are created, and how to work together so that we can all be optimal in all ways. It's just transformed my whole life. I even know certain types that I won't date.
And this could be just for the ladies, all the single ladies out there. I'm not going to break into Beyonce, but it could be. All right. So now go back through and hit each one again and tell people something, because you're going to leave them hanging. They're going to have FOMO. It's going to be, I'll get blasted with emails. Like, why didn't you give us a take-home message? So isn't there something that permeates each type that we can say, like for us activators, you always tell me when you get stressed, lay down in a flat position, do this at any point in time in the day for like 5 minutes and breathe. So
yeah,
right.
that's what I do. I text Amy. I say, okay, stop, just stop, take some time for you, because we are created for action. And again, running on the noradrenaline, testosterone, we are go, go, go. We are so prone to burnout because we don't stop. And that's a key that when I'm working with someone that is an activator health type, that's what we work with is we want to make sure that play hard, work hard, but rest hard, take breaks in the day, lay flat on your back, put those legs up, reset those adrenals for 15 minutes, game changer. Let's see, the Crusader, for them, it's just, I have them plan things out. And if you can give them anything on a spreadsheet, they freaking love spreadsheets. That's their jam because it's data. They have their data planned out. They can look at it, see what they need to do. I have my Crusader guys, they'll send me a spreadsheet, which is my personal hell because it's too much data. But they'll send me a spreadsheet of, I had one, every supplement he's on, when he started it, why he started it, how much he's using of it, and all the results he's seeing or not, like all this detail. And I was like, oh my gosh, but he needs that because he needs a purpose, and he has to have the goal to set, and he's on his way. So for them, again, it's have them have their goals in mind. My diplomats, again, time and space in their things in their time. And I want to make sure I'm not creating any more chaos. So there's so much information, whether it's doing the DNA, doing my pH profile, or using the two together, they will get the analysis paralysis, so much overwhelm. And that's what I hear from them, like, this is overwhelming. And so I really have to break down this profile little by little for them so that they can have their details and make their plan and understand it, but meet them where they are and not have that sense of urgency that I personally have, but to meet them where they are there. Diplomats, I just love them. They're like, every one of the diplomats I work with, they think of you as family, and they need more support. So I may check in with them a little bit more often, or have them check in with me more often. And I will expect to see them messaging on my body site more often, needing support, having questions, because again, you're their lifeline. This team, again, think team with them.
Yep.
They need us, they need all of us. So they may seem, and I don't want to say needy at all because it's not, but they will also, they want to hear about you too. And that's the cool thing. If you tell them a little bit about your day, that helps them make you feel a little more connected. They're just a joy to work with. Mm-hmm. The connector, I have to usually go, when I see someone in my private practice that I'm working with that's a connector or a guardian, I always make sure I don't schedule anyone right after, because it always runs over. Because I told you I have a lot of connector in me, and we can talk, right? They like to go. And when you say, how are you doing? That's the first 30 minutes is all of that. But they're fun, right? But they're all over the place. So it's like, all right, bring you in, let's focus. So the big thing for them, of course, also is mind, bring them into the focus. The sensor type, again, just give me the facts, Jack. You have your ducks in a row about what you're going to cover with them. Not a lot of fluff, but yet, and you have to take time to build trust with them. So, just take the time with them, make sure you have your system and process in order, allow them to have theirs, because when they understand that and you work with them and build that trust, again, they're just great to work with. They're the ones, those and the Crusaders are always the ones that come back at the next session. And it's like, so did you do this? Yep, already did that. And now I did this and this and this. And you're like, all right, see you in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So everybody's so different. And again, I find joy in working with each one in different ways because I understand them. And it's helped me, like the Crusaders, some of the diplomats and sensors have helped me get a little more detail oriented and slow down. I love having them as friends. They slow my ass down. You get together, a lot of my friends are activators. It's like, what are we going to do now? And then by the end of the weekend, everybody's like tanked. Yeah, it's they're the little things of gold with the different health types. And that's the fun. I brought a client on playing pickleball, and we got to talking about what I did. She overheard me, and I had her pegged like nobody's business. But she goes, I got to think about this, which I knew she'd have to think about it. She was a diplomat, and she said, and I said, well, I don't know. You might be this type, and I usually, just have fun with the typing, because it is a very serious thing when you want to make sure it's the accurate type when you're onboarding somebody. But it's just fun stuff to talk about. And she was like, all right, I need to do this just because I need to find out about me and everything else. And the fun thing with her was she had ended a relationship with her girlfriend, and I ran into her. Oh no, it was a session. We had a session a few weeks later. She had moved back in, and they were having fun now, understanding that her having to have her special place for her pickleball equipment and not have her girlfriend put her stuff there too. Like, they have to have their place. The diplomats joking now that she sees this is her biology. She has to have her specific space, brought them back together as a couple.
Oh my God.
Learning how to understand her, that if she's not being a bitch, this is just who she is, and why it creates it like that just created chaos for her. It created stress for her, and she would take it out on her girlfriend. And when they learned to work together with it, and they joke about it, that it's my biology, it changed the dynamic. So again, I see just so many different things with it. And then seeing it with healing the body, I can tell you, for me, again, having, the issues that I have, I'm going to be 58 in a couple months, God help me. But I knew that when something was off, it was not my lifestyle. And it allowed me to just focus in on getting my thyroid and my hormones optimized, because everything else I had dialed in. So it wasn't a question for me. So when you dial in exactly what you should be doing, the rest of it is so much easier to fall into place than throwing that pasta against the wall and seeing what the hell sticks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it takes another level of commitment. I mean, that's why we don't start every patient on this, at least not now, because it's a lot. My God, we throw so much at them at the beginning already, like to have them measuring their fingers and toes and all that. I don't know, but it has such a place. And that's why, some people through their program, especially when they're stuck, they decide to take this next step. Because I mean, let's face it, some people, do you have to do this to get results? No, of course not. Some people can change their diet and they're like, oh my God, everything has changed in my life. I mean, yeah, absolutely. We balance our thyroid hormones, change things up just a little bit, and miracles happen. And then there are the people who don't. And then there are the people that we are like, what in the actual, all of their labs look perfect. Like, this isn't making sense. They're lifting heavy shit. They say they're eating clean, but no, really, like they're eating well. It just doesn't make sense. And at that point, when you're banging your head against the wall, we got to go deeper. We got to get into this.
And then a couple of your people that I've gotten are more biohacker types that, yes, they've got their issues they're dealing with, or they wouldn't be with you to begin with, right? But otherwise, generally feel good, but they want to know, I want to feel amazing. And what's an extra step that I can take to feel that way? So I do get people that feel really good, but what are they missing? Right? Because is there something that can help me live an even better quality of life? Because that's what it's about. It's not just about, let's get everything balanced and feel okay. We all have the ability to feel amazing when you feed the body, the mind, the soul, the things that it uniquely requires. And when we can get that together, it creates a quality of life that's unsurpassed. Really, our mind is our limitation. And we spend so much money on the medical system that basically keeps us sick. Like what I went through, just in tears for a year and a half, having everything dialed in and saying, why do I still feel like shit? And understanding how I was created, how that, made the difference in the needs that my body had. When you feel amazing, there's no better feeling than that. So whether you're somebody feeling good and wanting to be optimal, or somebody that has tried every freaking thing under the sun and nothing sticks, that's where I come in.
Yeah.
You make that difference. And the people that, if you follow it, And do you have to follow it 100%? No. Do I 100%? No, I'm pretty close. But if you work with it, it is a game changer and you will see results. If you want to make excuses, you're not going to get results. And that's the thing. You have excuses and results, and they run parallel. They don't meet. So you can keep up with your excuses. You can have all the tools in front of you and get results or not. Your choice. Every choice you make is doing something with your DNA. So every choice you make is taking you, and I just said this to one of your patients today, it's either taking you in the direction of healing and optimization, or it's contributing to the issues you have going on. Which one do you want?
Yep. Yeah. And you have to lay it out, because we can't just say, the excuses are, oh, I just don't feel like going to the gym. I mean, we're not talking about the excuses that we all come up with when we don't want to do something. We're talking about the excuses of you really think that you're doing the right thing. You really think just like the patient I talked about that isn't yet in pH, but maybe she'll get there. She did, when we had the talk about her abundant fruit and high fat and high fruit, she did take it in. Like, she was very now I am absorbing the information. It's making sense now. You can probably type her after I say this, right? It's making sense now. I never heard it that way before. Okay. And she's ready to move forward, right? But she needed the data explained and then took it in and digested that. And so it's not what Susan and I are really talking about, excuse versus results. It's the people that are just stuck in their ways. It's the people that, like, what if she were to say, well, no, this worked 5 years ago, so I'm just going to keep doing it. Like that is insanity, actually, to keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. The excuses Susan's talking about are and let's touch on it really quickly before we go, are your intermittent fasting freaks. Nope, I am going to eat one time a day or twice a day, and that's it, because it worked for me back in 1999, and I know it's going to, not really, it didn't even go back that far, but it's the intermittent fasters that will not break it. They won't eat more than once or twice a day. I mean, they are stuck in their biohacking ways. Somebody on another podcast said this was the thing to do.
Yep. And that's the thing. There's so much information out there that's why they're trying everything. And that's why I say, like, genetics or generics, right? You try what worked for one expert doesn't mean it's going to work for your body. And the thing with the intermittent fasting I see too is they'll pick that window to eat, and then they eat crap in that window and go, so why do I feel like crap? Because you're eating junk in that window. And another one of your patients, he is a male, an elder gentleman, and he came on with me for the pH. He did both with me. He did the DNA and the pH. And he said to me in the very first meeting we had, he said, I've been intermittent fasting and keto for like 10 years and I'm not going to change, Susan. And I said, okay, well, we'll see what comes up on your profile.
Right.
He comes up as a crusader and needs some more complex carbohydrates. And the one thing he was telling me is that he can't get rid of this bit of belly fat in the middle. And I said, well, interestingly enough, that's where yours goes, right? And your body fat is going to go to that area because they tend to be leaner. So he looked at the profile and he was adamant he wasn't going to change anything. So we have had a couple sessions since then, and he actually started adding some carbohydrates in that seemed to work for him. He added more meal because he was only eating, I think, 2 times a day or so, which they need a little bit more frequent meals because they burn so much. And he's hugely active for his age. For any age, he's hugely active. He actually was getting really good results and just kind of surprised. So when I don't want to work with people who stay in their zone of, I'm not trying something. I love the people that say, this is new, because I promise you it's nothing like you have ever seen before or done before. And to be able to just come out of that zone and say, all right, I'm going to try whatever, what the recommendations are, get the times to sleep and wake up, times to work out, get this stuff dialed in, get your food timing dialed in, all of this. It's just so fun to see the changes that occur in people, and sometimes the shock.
Yeah.
Chuckle because it's just yeah, what I've been seeing over the years.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it'd be fun to learn that you could eat oatmeal, maybe, like you said, some people can, because
Right.
I would have to eat crow too. I have seen in the majority of women, and especially coming from the bodybuilding background that I came from, where oatmeal was a staple. Everyone ate oatmeal because it was fat free. So, and then I saw these competitors come out of the show, and then they continue to eat oatmeal thinking that's going to keep them maybe from putting on the 30 pounds that you gain after a show. And their body hates it. It's like women's body tends to hate oatmeal. I mean, yeah, it's a grain, but it's something about it. And that's why I think that we crave it, because it's more comforting than and heavy than probably something we should be eating every day as a diet food. But yeah, I would have to eat crow if you told me that I could eat oatmeal, because I wouldn't.
And you know what's interesting? I can't do grains, and that's a glutamate sensitivity. And that's the other thing that we see that I don't see in other tests is glutamate in DNA testing. That's a very real thing. Some glutamate sensitivity with people, and the histamine. Again, we go more in depth into that with my DNA testing, and those were two things that I had no idea about. And that was why, one of the reasons that even just non-gluten grains wreck me. And this week, I have been able to, and again, this comes with healing, right? Because when people see you, the gut a lot of time is jacked up and everything. But when we get things healed, I have been able to reintroduce wild rice, which is a grass, actually. I've enjoyed wild rice for 3 days, small portion at lunch after training. And I don't have the bloat. I don't have any issues with it. And it's like, again, it's nice where sometimes we can bring some of these things in that I swore I could never go near before, or wouldn't, because I was afraid of whatever. Just when our body gets optimal, there's things we can handle. It was on my pH list, highly ranked for almost 3 years now. And I was like, no, I can't do this. And I thought, bite the bullet, and just on training days, but it's just a little variety for me. And just really, you can make it fun. And I love the recipes. It makes it a no-brainer to just pull up a recipe for everything. People are all about detoxes, generic detoxes. Again, what does your body need? So pH even has a detox that is specific not only to the health type of the person, but then it further goes into that specific person's body. What is the ideal type of detox for you and what you need? So again, personalized health. This is what everything is about now. You personalize their medications, their thyroid, according to what they need, and I just personalize lifestyle.
Yep.
So that's why it's a good team. Teamwork makes the dream work.
I love it. All right. So now, we got to end the way that we all end, of you telling people where they can find you. Now, of course, our patients can find you with us. So if there's anybody out there that work with Susan, now you want to upgrade to the PhD 60, or maybe you're with another health coach and you're like, what is this PhD 60? Just reach out to us and we'll explain it, go over the pricing and all that. It's an added service because it's so intense. Like, it's freaking intense. Like, you meet with them, how many, like every other week?
Yeah. So I do typically, and again, it's client driven. I like to see people at least every 2 weeks in the beginning. We get them onboarded, and then again, up to them. Some people want to sit on it. Others is like, no, I'm going to start now. So we do the onboarding process, and then I give them 1 to 2 weeks to sit with it. Just navigate around. And then I like the first 2 sessions are an hour. This is your patients. First 2 sessions are 1 hour. I like those about 2 weeks apart. And then we go to 30-minute sessions. And those they can stay the same 2 weeks apart. Some people like to get into a groove a little bit more with the goal that they've chosen to work on for those couple of weeks, and they might go 3 weeks. So it's really, again, just client driven, or if someone needs support before then, I'm available to them for this, just like I am, just as your coach anyway. My personal clients, it's 6 coaching sessions or 12 coaching sessions, and personal, for you, I do either or. My personal coaching, because I am all about optimal, that's 6 sessions or 12 sessions based, and 3 panels of DNA. Yeah. So that's how that differs. generally
it's an
3 to 6.
intense program, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, because you're going to do the work, but the beauty is it's laid out for you and we work through it and I support you. And so you're not doing it alone. Unless, okay, you sensory people, if you want to do it alone, do it alone. But
right. You got to give them that. Right.
right. You've got support. And I just try to make it fun for those who like fun, because doing this shouldn't be something that sucks. Being healthy shouldn't be something that sucks or taxing. And I try to make it fun, learning about you, learning how you're created, the fun things about you, and the not so fun things that, oops, got to work on that. How to reach me, my website. Now pay attention to this. It's Healthy Awakening. There's no S. You get one awakening, not two people. But it's
I like that.
healthyawakening.co. Okay. .com was taken. We got this one from Colombia. I thought it would be fun because I'm half Colombian and everybody thinks it's a typo. So I probably don't get half the emails I should, but healthyawakening.co is my website. And then my Instagram handle is Susan Robbins _epigenetic coach. I'm also on Facebook, and you can contact me through my website, through Facebook, email, any way you like. And there's also a phone number to reach out to me as well.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Susan, for your time, for your knowledge. I'm pumped that we finally got you on here. So amazing, amazing. And we will have all of her links in the show notes. All right, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amy.